I was a university student in upstate New York. I always had a fascination with maritime history and the life at sea. I recently found out about a job opportunity near a lighthouse off the coast of New England, so naturally, I applied. After I met with the owner, Mr. Ames, he told me to be careful because the lighthouse could drive a person mad. He handed me a worn, leather-bound book. "Read it and take heed," he whispered fearfully, his strong Irish accent falling hard on my ears. I arrived at the lighthouse to find a supply of food and alcohol that would last me the first few months. There was also a satellite phone and a radio in case I needed anything. I was on for about a year. This was normal as the other keepers were back on land before the rotation. I tried to get some sleep, but found myself tossing and turning. I couldn't sleep to save my life, so I decided to make a snack of steak and potato soup and some beer. After consuming the meal, my eyes flicked over to the book. I decided to sit down and give it a read. September 12, 1874. Day 1. Arrival. I have arrived at the lighthouse on the eastmost point of the island. The journey was long and rough, with the sea thrashing about, as if trying to keep me away. The precious keeper, Mr. Ames, left in such a hurry that he left the lighthouse in disarray. I found his logbook, but the pages have been torn out. I cannot help but wonder what could have caused him to abandon his post so suddenly. I will make it my duty to ensure this light remains shining for the safety of the ships that pass by. Day 3. Strange sounds. I hear something at night, a faint rhythmic knocking from below. At first, I thought it was the waves, but the sound is too deliberate, too mechanical. I checked the lower levels, but there was nothing. The knocking stops when I descend, and when I return to my quarters, it resumes. Perhaps it is the wind playing tricks on my mind, but it unsettles me. Day 5. The fog. The fog rolled in thick this morning, swallowing the island whole. I could barely see my own hands in front of my face. The foghorn has been blaring all day, but the sound does little to comfort me. With the fog came a deep sense of unease, as if the very air was pressing down upon me. I found myself staring out into the white nothingness, feeling watched. I should be used to the isolation by now, but this is different. Day 7. The visitor. Tonight, there was a knock at the door. At first I thought it was my imagination, but when I opened the door, there stood a man. He was drenched from the rain, his clothes tattered and his eyes hollow. He said nothing as I ushered him inside. I offered him food and drink, but he merely sat at the table, staring at the wall. His presence filled the room with a cold, damp chill that seemed to seep into my bones. I asked his name, but he did not respond. His silence was unnerving, but I thought perhaps he was in shock from being lost at sea. I left him by the fire and went to bed, but sleep eluded me. All night I could hear his heavy breathing, slow and deliberate, as if he was standing just outside my door. Day 8. The disappearance. This morning, the man was gone. There were no footprints, no sign that he had ever been here. The door was still locked from the inside. How could he have left? I searched the island, but there was no trace of him. Had he wandered off into the sea? My head throbs with confusion and fear. I checked the logbook, but the entries from the previous nights are wrong. The handwriting is mine, but the words are strange, twisted. They speak of things I do not remember writing, of shadows moving in the fog, of voices whispering my name. I tore the pages out and burned them. I must not let my mind betray me. Day 10. The light. The light in the tower flickers, even though the oil is full, as if the light itself is fighting against something unseen. I climb the tower to investigate, but as I reach the top, the wind howled like a dying beast, and the flame went out. I was plunged into darkness. For a moment I felt hands on my shoulders, cold and clammy, but when I spun around, there was no one there. My heart raced as I relit the flame, and the light struggled back to life, casting long shadows on the walls. I swear I saw a figure standing in the corner, just for a split second, before it vanished. Day 12. The storm. The storm has been raging for days. Waves crashed against the rocks, threatening to swallow the lighthouse whole. The wind screams through the cracks in the walls, and the light flickers more violently than before. I am trapped inside. The door refuses to open, as if something is holding it shut. The air inside is thick with salt and decay. My food has gone rotten, and the water tastes of metal. I hear voices in the wind, calling my name, begging me to come outside. Day 14. The descent. I can no longer tell what is real. The light, once a beacon of hope, now feels like a curse. Its steady rhythm is the only thing keeping the darkness at bay, but I fear it's not enough. The knocking from below has returned, louder and more insistent. It is coming from a trapdoor that leads to the cellar, a place I have avoided since my arrival. Tonight, I will go down there. I have to know what it is. The voices have become unbearable. They tell me I am not alone, but I have never been alone. Day 15. The end. This is my final entry. The cellar. God help me, the cellar. There is no escape. The knocking. It was never from outside. It was from within. I see now why Mr. Ames fled. I see now what he saw. They are here, in the walls, in the floor, in my mind. The figures of the fog, the man at the door, they were warnings, but I was too blind to see. They want the light. They need the light to stay alive, to keep their hold on this place. I am not the keeper. I am the prisoner. The light is failing. I can feel them closing in. The shadows are longer now, and the air is thick with their presence. I cannot fight them. I am too weak, too far gone. The light, it must not go out, but I fear it will. If anyone finds this, do not stay. Do not try to save me. Leave, while you still can. The light is flickering. They are here. The knocking has stopped. I finished reading the logbook and I later called Mr. Ames. "What's the big deal?" I asked. "So you read it?" I nodded, feeling an icy chill run down my spine as I explained my situation. "I'll send your ship back to your location," he said tersely, almost like he was upset with me for reading it. That was 4 days ago. The only thing that's happened of note was the fact that I've encountered a man on the shore. I've taken him in, but something feels off about him. He just keeps staring at the wall.